Netherlands, 1941. It's a cold night in the city of Haarlem, the streets are silent, and most of the residents are sheltered in their homes. No one suspects that a brutal murder is about to occur. The Nazis invaded the country a year ago, and since then, it has remained under the rule of the Wehrmacht. Now, German soldiers roam freely throughout the nation and behave as if they were the masters of the territory. However, tonight, something unexpected will happen that will change the history of the city forever. The Haarlem Tavern is filled with German troops who have come there in search of drinks and entertainment. Suddenly, the doors of the establishment open, and two girls enter, looking for a place to sit. They find a spot near a high-ranking officer, with whom they quickly strike up a conversation. After a few moments, one of the girls, smiling mischievously, proposes to the German to go for a walk in the forest. The man, confident in himself and his seduction abilities, accepts the proposal. He has no idea that he has fallen into a trap and that, minutes later, he will be a corpse buried in a secret grave among the trees. Today, in this new episode of Military History, we will tell you everything about the Dutch women who seduced and killed Nazis. The protagonists of our story are the Oversteegen sisters, Truus and Freddie. Both were born in the city of Haarlem, the Netherlands, in the years 1923 and 1925, respectively, into a working-class family. They grew up in poverty, spending their childhood living aboard a barge on the river. Their mother was a communist activist with strong convictions who watched with concern as fascism spread across Europe. She abhorred anti-Semitism and even provided refuge on her boat to Jewish families fleeing the Nazis. On the other hand, she encouraged her daughters to make dolls for the children suffering in the Spanish Civil War. Their mother's combative and fervent attitude served as an example that accompanied the Oversteegen sisters throughout their lives. In 1940, in the midst of World War II, Hitler sent his army into the Netherlands. Despite the Netherlands' neutrality stance, Hitler believed that occupying it was crucial to his plans. Therefore, on the morning of May 10, without a formal declaration of war, the Wehrmacht launched a surprise attack on Dutch troops. The Germans' might was demonstrated in the city of Rotterdam, which was reduced to ashes after an intense bombing by the Luftwaffe. See what the consequences of the Blitzkrieg were. On May 15, realizing that resistance was futile and would only result in more bloodshed, the Netherlands surrendered unconditionally. The government fell under the control of an SS officer, General Arthur Seyss-Inquart. This was the event that forever changed the lives of the Oversteegen sisters, who witnessed the loss of their nation's independence and the cruelty that the Nazis were capable of in their quest for world domination. Years later, in an interview, Freddie recalled what struck her the most about those days. There were trucks on the streets full of corpses. It was a horrible sight. At that time, they were only teenagers, 17 and 15 years old, but their young age did not prevent them from getting involved in the resistance. They began distributing anti-fascist pamphlets and copies of a left-wing newspaper censored by the new government. It was a dangerous activity, and if caught, they could end up in prison or even lose their lives, but they had the support of their mother. Their activism against the Germans caught the attention of Franz van der Wiel, the commander of the underground resistance in Haarlem. He appeared at the sisters' house and proposed that they join his team. Both accepted the offer and decided to dedicate their lives to fighting the Nazis. Many years later, Freddie Oversteegen said the following: "I didn't know what joining the resistance entailed. I thought we were entering a secret army. The man who recruited us said we would receive military training. And so we did. We were taught to shoot, to march through the woods. In total, we were a group of 7 people, and my sister and I were the only women." Their first missions involved sabotaging bridges and railway lines, which they accomplished by planting dynamite and blowing up those sites. Shortly thereafter, they received orders to assassinate a Dutch woman who was collaborating with the Nazis. The woman intended to hand over a list with the names of all the Jews in Haarlem. The Oversteegen sisters had to eliminate her to save the lives of dozens of people. However, doing so was difficult because they had never killed before. They followed the Nazi collaborator to a park, and when they made sure she was alone, Freddie approached her and timidly asked for her name. After the woman confirmed her identity, Freddie shot her in the chest. In this way, the young girls toughened up and accepted increasingly risky missions. Some of them involved going to taverns frequented by German soldiers and, taking advantage of their beauty, seducing important officers and then killing them. As we told you at the beginning of the video, this is what happened one night in 1941 in Haarlem when the sisters entered a bar full of Nazis and struck up a conversation with one of them. At a certain point, Truus proposed to the man to go for a walk in the forest to get to know each other better. The German accepted, unaware that he was heading straight into a deadly trap. Finally, when they were among the trees, away from the rest of the troops, other resistance members appeared. Freddie, who saw everything up close, remembered it this way: they shot the officer in the back, so he never saw the faces of his executioners. Our comrades had already dug a grave to bury the body, although they didn't allow us to watch the burial. We didn't care because we didn't want to be present to see that. They told us they had removed his clothes before burying the body so that, if it was found, it wouldn't be easily recognizable. In 1943, the underground resistance in Haarlem expanded when Hannie Schaaf joined. She was a 23-year-old redhead who joined the anti-fascist movement after witnessing the Nazis' horrific treatment of Jews. Her commitment to justice led her to take up arms against the Germans, and she quickly formed a strong friendship with the Oversteegen sisters. The bond that formed between the 3 girls was due to their similar ages and compatible political views. They became an inseparable team, responsible for missions such as sabotaging telecommunications networks, obtaining fake documents for Jewish refugees, and, of course, seducing and assassinating German officers. Let's see a recreation of one of these attacks, as it appears in the movie The Girl with the Red Hair, based on Hannie's life. On one occasion, the 3 young women had the audacity to raise a communist flag at the Nazi Party headquarters in the city of Utrecht on Labor Day. The girls managed to escape before being caught, but their small action caused a stir among the occupying forces, who saw it as a massive insult. Shortly afterward, wanted posters began circulating for Hannie. The Germans had recognized her by her distinctive red hair and were now demanding that the redhead from the resistance be captured, dead or alive. From then on, she tried to hide by dyeing her hair black and wearing sunglasses. However, despite her efforts, her luck ran out. In March 1945, while transporting classified resistance documents, Hanni was arrested by the German army. She was identified by the roots of her hair, where the dye had not taken effect and her red hair was visible. After confirming her identity, she was transported to northern Holland and taken to the dunes to be executed. The executioners forced her to walk backward. One of them stood behind her and drew his pistol. He shot her in the back of the head, but he missed, and the bullet barely grazed her temple. In her final moments, Hanni showed defiance, exclaiming, "I have better aim." The other soldier, fed up with the situation, opened fire with his machine gun, hitting the girl in the head. Just 18 days later, the Netherlands was liberated by the Allies, although only the Oversteegen sisters were there to celebrate. Hanni, their friend and comrade in arms, became a martyr just before she could see her country in freedom. Meanwhile, the population took to the streets to celebrate the downfall of the regime. At the end of the war, the young women returned to civilian life, got married, and started families. In 1996, they founded the Hanni Shaft Foundation with the aim of preserving the memory of their friend and promoting her desire for a more just society. Over time, the redhead became an emblem of the anti-fascist movement, to the point that today, her image appears in children's books that tell the story of how she defied Nazism. Truus became an artist, creating paintings and sculptures inspired by her time as a member of the resistance. She passed away in 2016 at the age of 92. Freddie died in 2018 at the same age as her sister. Today, all three women are remembered as heroines who helped liberate the Netherlands from the clutches of the Third Reich. We've reached the end of the video. Leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn about many more military events that left their mark on history.